Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev, for a comprehensive presentation on the security issues related to 5G. Now that our esteemed speakers have brought out various issues related to 5G networks, mainly because of their nature, like they being cloud native, extensive use of AI and ML, auto scaling and optimization, edge computing, network slicing, third-party applications. With all these things thrown in, the security challenges posed by the 5G networks is really considerable. So to take the things further, let us try to seek a little more information from our speakers. I would like to put a few questions across. To start with, let me say, what are the inherent security risks in 5G due to its architecture, cloud native nature of network, especially with regard to virtual machines, containers, microservices, APIs, shared resources, shared tenancy? These are the nature of, this is how the 5G is getting implemented. So what are the inherent risks thrown up by this kind of implementation? May I request Mr. Sanjeev Dhallam to initially address this question?
Yeah, thanks, Gopal, sir. I will take this question. Since I discussed in my presentation, 5G network is introducing network architecture changes and introduction of 5G SB network stack. So this stack is using HTTP2 as a protocol in terms of application layer and the JSON as a serialization protocol. So we need to, these are the risks we need to ensure the secure communication between the network function inside a PLMN. Since this HTTP2 and JSON are widely used in the IT industry, it will lead to shorter vulnerability to exploitation timeline, higher impact of vulnerabilities utilizing these protocols with the need of increased security patching. If we talk about the introduction of technology changes, which includes cloudification technologies, MANO, etc., these changes may actually, key challenges are, it may lead to shared and dynamically distributed resources virtualization. Attack surface will increase because of the inherent security risk in this technology, so they will get transferred to the telecommunication. However, this risk can be addressed and managed by applying security frameworks of these respective technologies. Couple of attacks I can talk about, like slide channel attack or slice escape, are a couple of examples around inherent risk and associated attack on the exploiting these technologies. But anyway, this risk can be addressed and managed by utilizing respective cybersecurity frameworks, applying to that in their environment. Yeah, thank you. Sir, you are mute.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev. May I ask Dr. Xu to share her thoughts on this?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is a good question. As we know, the 5G system implements the SBA architecture by introducing virtualization technology. So the traditional security boundary division based on the physical isolation, I think is no longer applies to the 5G system. However, management and the control functions are highly centralized in the virtual environment of the 5G core network, and the resources are shared between the different network functions. Therefore, the risk of being attacked and introducing security risk increases. On the other hand, the 5G system also introduces MEC for vertical application. I think the MEC infrastructure is exposed to an unsafe physical environment, and applications in the MEC platform are prone to leakage of the sensitive information of user and services. Therefore, I think as 3GPP SA3 has begun to develop the scarce specification for virtualization to ensure the security of the 5G infrastructure. That's my understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Emmanuel DOTARO, would you like to bring in some additional thoughts, especially in view of the AI and ML being widely used in 5G networks?
Oh, so yes, so where we are doing the convergence between the IT world and the telecom world, this is for the good, but also for the bad. So as it was mentioned before, the attack surface and things like that are much wider. And if you look at what has been done in 5G threat landscape that has been done in Europe for some years, and even we have the version 2, most of the threats were coming from the software predominance in the 5G systems. And you're right. If you look at what is now coming into the picture, which is AI native system beyond cloud native system, it's even worse because we need to tackle the risks which are inherent to the AI life cycle. I mean, you can bias the data, you can use different ways the model. So it's clearly it's critical in the sense that this will drive the way the services of the system will behave beyond. For those who are not familiar with the security area, maybe there is a lot of people in the room are following this webinar. If you want to be convinced that there are some issues, you have to subscribe to a CERT where you have CVE, Common Vulnerability and Exposure Database. So you receive almost every day some new vulnerabilities discovered on the software side. So you need to understand that we, even on the operating system, which are sometimes well known for years, you discover new vulnerabilities. So you need to understand that this is not this is clearly a problem, and you have to consider that in your network. Then with the evolution, if you look, for instance, your question was about AI. If you want to develop some federated learning with a lot of disaggregation of the function and so on, it means that in the future system evolution, you have more and more disaggregation, more and more interfaces, more and more exchanges, and each time you do that, you increase the attack surface. So as it was somehow an implicit of your question, yes, there are some issues coming with and we have to take this into account, as this was not the case before. And last maybe point on this new picture is the APIs, because we before, when you wanted to do a configuration in your network, you were going through the OSS, the NMS, the EMS. It was full under the control of the telecom operator. Now with APIs, you delegate some power to the tenants, to the users, to third parties, to manage some of the configuration of your system. And for sure, if you according to what you delegate to the others, it may create some issues also in terms of security in your systems.
Leading from this question, another thing is that what are the checks that can be built in securing the core network elements? Because now the core network elements are distributed per se in 5G, but still, how to protect those core network functions? And then for a service provider, is a private cloud more preferable compared to a public cloud?
The question is still for me, so yeah, I'm gonna follow on that. We have new life cycle in your systems from the software point of view, from the usage of the hardware, and as you mentioned, the cloud. I guess this is the virtualization infrastructure. So this is where you have to trust or not third parties.
Let us look from the perspective of the service provider.
For the service provider,
that is where the security of the entire network lies.
Yeah, can you rely on a cloud, or is it something that has to be private? Again, if it's not your cloud, if it's not private, you have to trust the third party which is providing this cloud and so in this case, you need, for instance, to put, I don't know, from the software point of view, for instance, to put watermarking in the code just to have all the forensic and the follow-up of what your software is going, the life cycle of your software in the networks. You have to check the policy implementation in the various parts, so you can put some insight, some drivers to do that, but you have also to negotiate because it can be intrusive on the system, which is not your system. If you delegate this on a public or different virtualization infrastructure, you can put some probes, which is really useful to control what is going on. So even if you are sure that you have good configuration, you should verify that this is going in a good way. So probes from the behavior of the system, probes to detect the attacks and so on. And it has to be done in a very complex system right now with multi-tenant, multi-parties issues where you have to organize this. You cannot still, as you're talking about service provider, we used to know in the past telecom service provider which had somehow a good view of the system. This is not the case anymore. It's more and more fragmented. So we have to organize all those exchanges and trust between the parties.
Thank you. Mr. Sanjeev, could you share your experience in this respect?
Yeah, and I think there are two questions. First is distributed, how to bring additional checks in the distributed core network. So what are the security practices we implement for a centralized core? The same need to be replicated for the distributed core. The security applicable controls are in terms of threat modeling, vulnerability management, SOC monitoring use cases. These to be extended to distributed core network like we are doing for the centralized core. Apart from this, since network boundaries are getting extended with distributed core network, so additional network boundaries can be protected utilizing security gateway and next generation firewall, and limiting the communication at boundaries with encryption of data transmitted from the edge to the core. To answer your second question, is it preferable for a service provider to utilize public cloud or a private cloud, building a private cloud for deployment of core? In my opinion, yes, it is more desirable since it is actually gives more flexibility and control to the operator. While public clouds can also be utilized, in that case, SLAs, security scope, and proper contractual governance should be in place with the infrastructure provider, which is providing the cloud infra. So both options are available, but yes, at one point you need to strengthen more and more governance. And in the second point, you need to have more and more controls and you operate these controls as a service provider. Yeah.
Mr. Sanjeev talked about encryption and other things. In this respect, I would like to pose a question to Dongmyoung Kim and Dr. TEZUKA. Is it good to implement X50 based PKI for identification and authentication of every single device and process in 5G? If we go with that, should it be network specific or country specific?
Okay, I will then answer first. So X509 based PKI, as you know, has been widely used in the internet, and it has been proven to be good solution. But in the cellular, especially UE authentication and identification point of view, 5G already allowed the solution in a limited use case like private network. But the primary identification method in 5G is still 5G ACA-based, SIM-based solution. So as I briefly mentioned in my presentation, we believe that usage of PKI will be further extended in the future network in 5G Advanced and 6G, considering its security and flexibility. But there are some challenges, as you know, and open issues there. So for example, we need to decide who and which kind of the organization should be the CA certificate authority, and route to CA is important in this architecture as well. So we need to decide that kind of something, and actually it is partially related with your original question, that whether it could be network specific or country specific and so on, but it is not very easy to answer or decide right now, and we need actually very long discussion for making this work. And actually to identify whether we can use PKI as a primary authentication solution. And we also need some careful study considering the structural impact and overhead and latency and so on. As you know, PKI-based some solutions for every GUI or procedure required further communication overhead like distribution of public keys, each other, and certificate and so on, signatures and so on. So even though even though we believe that this PK has a future opportunity and it will be applied more in our system for security purpose. Anyway, how we can extend the usage of this, we need more study, and maybe actually some part could be the solution or target for 6G, not within the 5G timeframe. That's my thought. Thank you very much.
So you think that further efforts are required in this direction to really go in for PKI-based certification?
Yes, so yeah, we already have some usage for that, but in order to widely accepted to every single device and so on, we need more study, and actually we need discussion related to some kind of non-technical discussions like business related things and so on, because it is also related to SIM-based authentication business and so on. So I think we need more study. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Tezuka, could you share your thoughts, please?
Yeah, thank you very much. And so, as I mentioned before at the presentation and the last presentation items and question and answer, and so you sent to us the 12 questions, and I want to express my opinion at number 9. So number 9 means that is it good to implement X.509? So, and also should it be network specific or country specific? So it's a very important issues, I think. And so the first of all, and security is that so the most important point is that the protect spoofing and tampering, the two portion. And the PKI is both capable of it. And I think, so the other time is that the CS system is very important for all application layers and network layers, every layers. So at the time is, I think that trust anchor, it means that the most anchor position, where is it? So that is network operator levels or country, the government levels, which is very important, I think. So Japanese side, and we have that both the CS systems and operation levels, operation levels and country levels. So that we can use that both types, and also that the mutual recognition is very important in the network CS systems and government systems. We are now planning the Japanese situation, and also the worldwide situation is the same. And so the Japan, the CS system, and India CS system, and also the Asian regions to all trust anchor relation, how to do it. It's a very, very important, I think. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Tezuka. And moving further,